Hello, eCommerce fans. Welcome to another episode of our show. Super excited to have Dani Mechlowitz today on our show. Dani is the CEO of
Hey.
Delta Fulfillment from the UK. Hey, Dani, how are you?
Hello, good morning. Nice
Good
to be here.
morning. We
Thanks
finally
for having me.
did it, right? With a lot of rebooking activities. I guess you are very, very busy with everything that's happening. How things in e-commerce in England and the UK?
Yeah, e-commerce is a fast-growing and fast-changing area. We've actually just finished moving warehouse, which has been quite exciting. And we're already coming over to
Wow.
Q4 peak season for 2024. It seems like it was
Amazing.
just January, so it's planning is
It's the right
started
timing to
and
move
off
to
we
a new
go.
warehouse, I guess, before Q4, right?
Yes. We've got to make sure everything's aligned and it's looking good.
Great.
And I
So
think
tell us
we're ready.
about your journey founding Delta Fulfillment and its evolution over the last, I think, 7 years, right? Yeah.
7 years, yeah. Well, it seems 7 years sounds like a long time. Definitely hasn't seemed like it was 7 years. 7 years was when we probably shipped the first parcel. We started alongside our sister company called ITD. So ITD Global were a courier broker, freight broker, working with many different companies, import companies, brands in the UK specifically. And we saw a need and we had inquiries from brands to, you're dealing with our courier, you're shipping our carrier aspect, you're dealing with our freight inbound, but can you actually look after our whole, supply chain? Can you deal with storage? Can you pick and pack orders, specifically e-commerce orders? And it was definitely an area which we wanted to grow, and I particularly wanted to take on, and as an ambitious new area of the business. And we set up Delta Fulfillment to run specifically the warehousing pick and pack operation. And 7 years has flown by. We've learned many things along the way. We started in a very small warehouse. We started with one or two staff. We took on one or two key brands who trusted us or put the faith in us. And we learned along the way in terms of where we wanted to be positioned, where we felt our best offering was. It did help that the fact that we had our partnership with ITD and now they're a sister company, we had access to better carrier rates, which obviously is always very important. It's probably one of the biggest costs of e-commerce, sending out a product. You've got pick and pack, you've got storage. The delivery costs make up 75% of the cost of an order. So having access to discounted rates definitely gave us a step up to really explore and grow in this market. And since then, we've continued to build. I was very hands-on for the first 3-4 years. I wouldn't say I'm completely hands-off now, but I've definitely managed to step further back in operation and spend time in what I feel I'm best at, which is sales and managing relationships and finding brands and helping brands really in terms of their fulfillment.
I'm very
needs.
interested. Why you are so passionate about this side of the business, right? Supply chains, fulfillment, warehousing. What's the background for all of this?
I worked in supply chain before Delta for about 4 or 5 years. Was pretty successful in that area. I helped companies save money, bring goods in, air freight, sea freight, which was great, and I enjoyed it. But fulfillment for me, and the reason why I sort of got tied to fulfillment was it's really a partnership with the brand. The brand relies so much on that partner. In the world of freight, brands move around from one freight broker to another freight broker. Yes, obviously you build relationships and there's reliance upon them. But when you're in fulfillment and you actually trusted a fulfillment center to look after your goods, pick and pack those goods every single day, send out the right goods, send them out on time, it's a true partnership. And we've had brands now working with us for 6-7 years, and we've still got brands who started 7 years ago. We formed a proper, deep relationship. We're constantly trying to innovate, trying to make better our service. We get feedback from them. And for me, it was a lot more rewarding than just selling freight. It's a real long-term partnership. And that's where I think I got drawn into this world.
I mean, it's so a
fulfillment.
critical component of the business, right? I mean, for the brand side, and it's like more than partnership. It's like you're an extension of their internal team, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. You know, it's a huge amount of responsibility every single day, every single night. And obviously, most of the time, it's very rewarding when we do the right things and give us positive feedback and thanks.
So, what do you see are some of the maybe KPI or some of the important aspects that brands look when they going to source their warehousing or fulfillment partners?
I think there's a few different aspects. I think firstly, there's lots of different 3PLs out there, and there's different 3PLs which cater for different aspects of the market. So I would definitely say there's no one size fits all. You know, you'll have the boutique 3PLs, smaller boutique 3PLs who can cater for the smaller brands, who can cater for the brands who have more specific needs, whether it's the way they package the goods, personalization. You then have, on the other side, flip side of the market, you'll have these larger 3PLs who deal with the multinationals, you know, the really big brands out there. And then you've got this gap in the middle, which I think is where we fall, which is sort of the SME market, which will be brands who are doing anywhere from 1,000 orders up to 60,000, 100,000 orders a month, who simply want a 3PL who they can trust on, who has good pricing, competitive pricing, who can achieve KPIs day in, day out. Yes, obviously there'll always be a percentage of leeway, but can achieve 98, 90, 99% in terms of on-time dispatch, order accuracy, who can be scalable, right? So most of these brands out there, like any business, they're looking for scale. They're looking to grow month on month, especially a lot of these D2C brands who have got money behind them, have got investment behind them. They want to be growing their brand 50%, 100% year on year. And they need a 3PL that can back them up in that. They don't want a 3PL who's just sitting flat. So again, it's you know, any brand out there who's looking for a 3PL should, you know, shortlist 3 or 4 3PLs who probably will be in a similar bracket. You know, look at pricing is always going to be an important factor. But you want to look at a partnership, speak to other brands who have been working that 3PL, get their feedback, look at the scalability, look at the profitability of the 3PL, and make sure that they're aligned with the brand and the 3PL are aligned in the direction.
And in terms of Delta fulfillment, I mean, the Delta fulfillment, what's the typical scope of work? I mean, let's just try to break down the different, you know, bits and pieces of the service that you provide. Yeah,
so I mean, typically our focus is e-commerce fulfillment. So we wouldn't take a brand on who's not doing e-commerce fulfillment. But over the past few years, you know, whilst we've been developing our service and really understanding who our key customer is, and we call it in the world of 3PLs ICP. I'm not sure whether that's used in other areas, that, you know, ideal customer profile. So, you know, we've spent a lot of time working out where we are, where we stand, who we can really benefit. And again, e-commerce fulfillment is our key, but we've also developed a strong rework and kitting aspect of the business, and also B2B, because what we found is there's a strong need for most brands out there in the last few years have moved into the omnichannel approach. So they've got a strong website, which they're investing a lot of money into with growing sales. At the same time, they are actively trying to get on the shelves of the key supermarket brands and other B2B outlets. And I think having a 3PL that can do both and who understands the intricacies of sending goods into the supermarkets, it's not straightforward. You know, you really have to get every single detail right to avoid any refusal of orders, to avoid any fines. At the same time, also being able to dispatch hundreds, if not thousands, of orders a day for those brands. So we've embraced both aspects, but e-commerce fulfillment is really still our growth strategy.
Great. So it's shipping, it's warehousing, pick and pack, customer support, right? These are the major building blocks of the service.
Correct.
And you mentioned omnichannel. What are the nuances of the omnichannel? You mentioned this, for example, shipping to supermarket and the fines. What are other challenges that you see, I mean, from your perspective in terms of omnichannel service?
I mean, the challenges for 3PL trying to run both is the ability to how you store the goods. Because ultimately with e-commerce fulfillment, you want to be storing single units in a picking shelf, picking those effectively. But at the same time, you then have a B2B order which drops on, which then wants a pallet worth of goods. So you've really got to, and we've had those challenges over the years, is how we run side by side the two. And what we've done is we've developed a way in the system that if a B2C order comes on, it gets allocated to a B2C picking area, picking shelf or picking bin. Or if a B2B order comes on, a bulk order for more than 10 units or 100 units of an item, it then allocates from a different area. So we can run side by side without affecting the workflow.
And obviously there are different level of service or SLA for the B2B side of things and the B2C side of things, right? So you need to adhere to,
Yeah. Correct. B2C, B2C in our world is orders that come up until 4 p.m. go out the same day. We're constantly trying to push the boundaries. We work 6 days a week. With B2B, there is a bit more leeway. I mean, an order will generally come on 2 or 3 days before it needs to leave the warehouse, which obviously is good. It helps with preparation. So they lead very different lives, and we've had to create different departments within the business to look after one and the other, to make sure that both are done to their
And I know you put a lot of energy and focus on maintaining high quality of service, right, to customers. And I wanted to ask you, what do you really do? I mean, what does it mean, in your world?
I think high quality service, I think the key metrics to look at, you can get taken away with looking at many, many metrics. But the key metrics which we focus on, and we've tried to really put time and effort into actually getting the data and make sure it's correct, is on-time dispatch. So is, again, like I said before, say 4 p.m. is a cutoff, making sure that how many parcels are coming before, how many orders are coming before 4 p.m. and actually left the same day. So we measure that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and a monthly basis, and obviously report those back to the customers. We look at order accuracy in terms of, have we sent the right items out? Are there any mispicks? Are we missing the items? And again, we measure that. We do need feedback from the customer on that, but we do measure that in a very tight way to make sure that everything's going out the door right. Thankfully, we're at a very 99.99% and it sounds very cliche, but we're running at that sort of level on a weekly basis, and we strive. If anything ever comes up, we straight away dive into what happened. Was there any reason behind it? Who picked it? Who packed it? And we look at the data. So I'd say the two key metrics for us is on-time dispatch, order accuracy. Those two stand out for me as being the success of.
And obviously during this process, what are some of the steps or areas where you see most of the delays or challenges around you providing service? Because obviously you are dependent also on additional suppliers to provide that service. Correct.
Yeah, so forecasting, the big F word,
the big F word,
is always a challenge. And I think, when we approach, going back to sort of the ICP, and when we look for customers, on the whole, we're looking for customers who are on a steady growth path, who are steady orders coming in every day. And sort of, again, to build on sort of our ICP, we have the last few years gone after subscription brands. So brands that have got a large majority of their products are customers signing up to subscription. And therefore, what we've seen is that they even more so have a steady flow of orders. So as a warehouse, having that steady flow
important
enables us to really plan and make sure that we've got enough staff. There's always going to be sale periods and promotional periods, and obviously coming into Q4, you've got the Black Friday, you've got Cyber Monday, and various other areas. And they do become difficult for warehouses because the customers themselves don't know, a lot of the customers are only 2 or 3 years old. They don't have loads of data. They don't know exactly how well the promotion is going to go. So we work with them closely to say, listen, let's work together here and make sure you're not over-promising to the customers. That if you are going to run a really good promotion, make sure you tell the customers to expect potential delays, right? Let's over-promise.
Under-promise,
over-deliver, under-promise, over-deliver. So there's always that challenge with the market that we're working within, and the brands that are, again, like I say, 2 to 3 years old, don't have loads of data. They're not like brands who have been around for 10, 15 years and have exact data. there is a working partnership. Again, this goes back to partnership and making sure that we're all aligned in terms of expectations, especially around the
it's
times
very,
when they
very
run
important.
promotions.
And in terms of categories, obviously you mentioned subscriptions, smaller items, obviously FMCG. Any other categories that you're looking at?
Yeah. We're very much honed down now into the world of subscriptions. I'd say 75% of the brands we're taking on, the last 6 months have been subscription brands, in various categories, but again, all in FFCG, whether it be skin lotion, deodorants, even bread.
Wow.
We've got a customer who does subscription, bread, and
nice.
they're actually doing very well. So we're not necessarily focusing on a certain category, but we're going for low SKU counts, high volume of orders, like any 3PL would really want. And we're then, if you fit our ICP and we take you on, we want to give you the best.
You mentioned some of the criteria. What other criteria you have in place just to qualify with whom you want to work with?
So so again, low SKU count. So ideally less than 50 SKUs is an ideal scenario. Doesn't mean it's a complete no after 50 SKUs. Seasonality again is we're trying to go for the brands who don't have seasonality. So yes, they may see an uplift in November time with Black Friday, but generally speaking, it's brands who are continue to rise month on month, but don't have major peaks and troughs. So and then obviously there's small goods. Everything has a barcode on, obviously, and that's really it. We try and keep it simple.
Yes.
And do what we can to get.
And what about the technology and some of the software tools that are involved in this process? How usually this is shaping your processes, and how do you implement that in the flow?
Yes, obviously there's software is a key aspect. I think most 3PLs now, are using some sort of WMS within their operation and have integrations into the various shopping channels. Maybe back 5 years ago, there were still 3PLs out there who were using spreadsheets. I think that's now finished. I think they've quickly realized you can't run a 3PL on spreadsheets. It's it's asking for problems. We've embraced WMS the last sort of 7 years, which we're happy with, which enables our customers to have a clear and concise portal to see the orders, to see their stock levels. I think that's a must. The customers need to have that transparency in terms of understanding where things are up to at any minute of the day, and make sure that all stock is tracked through the process. All the orders, all the tracking numbers are there. The integrations, like I say, are done seamlessly. So the orders are coming in every 5 minutes. All these, I would say, are basics to a 3PL. I think without these things, it's very hard to run a 3PL. But obviously there is always constant demand to keep the software innovating, becoming better with data. And we're constantly working on that together with our WMS
integrate with your customers, right? That's because real-time insights are critical, 100%. Right? People don't know what's going on. And in terms of the subscription, you're using Recharge or Orelo or some of the.
So we don't get involved with the subscription aspect. Obviously, it's our customers who are engaging with the likes of, like you say, Recharge, which is a very popular one. Skio, I think it's called. So there's definitely a few leaders in that world. We don't get too involved because once the orders it's all set up and the orders come in, they actually come into Shopify first and then come into us. So when we see the orders come into us, we don't necessarily, we treat all the orders as an order, whether it's subscription or whether it's.
And obviously, as you mentioned, it helps a lot with forecasting and just making sure that those processes are in place to accommodate the future demand. That's obviously super, super important. And there is I want to talk to you about Delta in terms of acquisition, acquiring new customers versus retention, right? How do you market your business? How are you creating more opportunities, and what's your effort on acquisition versus retention?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I wouldn't say I've fully figured it out. We definitely
everyone has challenged,
right?
This topic,
Yeah. I mean, because we are specific on who we want to bring in. It's not a matter of just getting loads of fulfillment leads. You could spend a lot of money on PPC out there, and you'd get loads of leads, which probably wouldn't fit your ICP. I think we reached a point where we know who we're suited to, and we started now to go after and target those and sort of show the value that we can bring to their business. We've put a lot of effort into LinkedIn, so both on a company level and my page, and we've seen a lot of success on that.
That's organically or also advertising?
Yeah, no, all organically, and just providing good quality content, which helps people understand the world of 3PL, people who aren't in this space, just engaging short form content. And I think it's definitely working. We've got a lot of new ideas coming soon. But in any business, anyone listening to this, I'd say get on LinkedIn is still a tool which is being underutilized, and I think lots of opportunities. It's essentially it's free, and you can get thousands of views on each post. I know Eitan, you're busy on LinkedIn, so you can give some tips here. But it's definitely a big strategy of our marketing aspect, and we do SEO and we do various other things, but it's really and obviously referrals as well. If we can give the service the correct quality of service to our brands, they are generally speaking to other brands on a regular basis. So we have seen quite a lot of word of mouth and referrals. So it's various aspects, and they still haven't fully tied down. But I think in marketing, you have to be doing many things.
You have to try so many things to see what works, right? And it's getting more and more complicated.
100%.
And I know there is a new kid on the block, right? TikTok. Maybe not a kid, maybe a monster or something. So, yeah.
No, it's not a kid. It's not a kid anymore. I think it's more of a teenage or adult stage. Yeah, it's definitely the one to watch at the moment. I think the way I've seen it, I mean, I'm probably not in that demographic of TikTok per se, but it's. I think maybe a year or two ago, it was very cheap, very, very cheap items, very discounted, obviously attracting sort of that demographic, and obviously didn't have the trust there per se just yet. But over the last year, especially, I can see with some of our brands who've really engaged with TikTok and seen some massive success. And we see the orders coming through. We're integrated with TikTok. We have orders coming through every minute. Mm-hmm. We've seen the volume of TikTok orders really explode. And it's really interesting. I think it's one to watch. I think it's going to become, a competition with Amazon in terms of, people trusting it, the video content. Eitan, do you know anything about video content?
I need to remember. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So it's, I think it's definitely one to watch. I think they've got an aggressive plan.
Yes.
And they're clearly doing a good job about it. And it works, the short form video content, and it shows you the product, and it engages you to buy. And we're going to be launching very soon. And again, you've got a sneak peek here. I'm not sure when this is going to be put out there, but we've noticed the TikTok trend. We've noticed that a lot of our brands are really keen, if they're not already on TikTok, really keen to get on it and do it properly. But there's so many different aspects of TikTok. It's not just the videos, it's the ads.
Yes.
It's many different aspects. And we've partnered with a well-known agency who are really focused on TikTok solely. And what we're going to be doing together is within the warehouse itself is actually providing content of us picking and packing our customers' products, because we know those videos do very well. It's all about what's going to capture the attention of the audience, and these short snippets of an order being picked and packed and put in the box and how the process goes. Our brands can't do it themselves because they've outsourced the fulfillment to us. So we're going to be bringing in some experts on providing interesting, various interesting
and
content.
And that content you will share with your customer, with the brand,
TikTok.
right? For them to post on TikTok.
Correct. It'll be brand exclusive. Obviously, we're not going to give them videos of their brand being picked and packed in various other aspects of the warehouse. And we're also looking at setting a TikTok live area of the warehouse and providing that option to do TikTok lives again. So it's just helping them along the journey of TikTok. How can they get the most out of it?
Yeah, I mean,
so it's funny you asked about TikTok, but yes, that's our plan.
Sure, I mean, those videos that you mentioned they're going to do for your brand, I think is very, very amazing idea, because any company related content is very, very powerful. Just to see what's behind the curtains, what's happening, it creates a lot of loyalty and differentiation. I mean, in terms of this specific brand, because there is a new trend that is called EGC, which is employee generated content, right? So if you're like an extension of their team, and they're posting on their network, on their channel, so I guess it's very, very powerful. So it's nice. I mean, you have a brand, you're getting orders from his order system, right? And then you have same brand placing order coming in from TikTok, and you're serving both. So we talk about omnichannel, which is kind of an offline online experience, but now we talk about a multi-channel, probably digital experiences, right? And really nice process that is happening. And there's no discussion about fulfillment without talking about sustainability, right? Well, what are your thoughts? How do you see this impacting your business?
Sustainability is definitely a key word, a key focus at the moment. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest expert in global warming and various other things going on in the world, but sustainability is a no-brainer. There's lots of plastic being used, and if we can reduce plastic usage, and it's no doubt going to be a benefit to everyone. We can see clearly in terms of the brands that we're bringing on, especially going back to the subscription world, the fact that they're going down the reusable aspect of things. And stuff and elements. We've got a big brand two brands who do reusable deodorants. So you've got the aspect of obviously regular deodorant can and all the say pollution that it causes, and going down a reusable natural deodorant, which you can even put the packaging into is compostable. So there's very clever aspects which brands are really thinking through the whole process of, okay, what happens to my product after use. So I'd say that's where we've really seen, and the brands we brought on is a lot of focus around sustainability and really thinking through the whole supply chain process. We've seen a lot of brands creating, I'd say most of goods, actually probably 80% of our goods coming into a warehouse have actually been made in the UK. So by making in the UK, you've then got rid of the whole supply chain of sea freight and various other aspects within there, which obviously is more sustainable. So you can definitely see that even the older, but especially the newer brands coming to market, the key thought process for them is sustainability, and through the whole process of the journey of the item. And obviously in the warehouse, we've the last few years we've been calculating our carbon footprint. We know it's a long journey that we're going through in terms of understanding where we as a business can help on this sustainable journey. We've looked at the packaging types, try to reduce the plastic usage. It's not so easy, but we are doing our bit to try step by step in really doing our bit.
Good to hear all this progress also from brands trying to put more extra effort into it. And I want to talk to you about cross-border e-commerce, right? I mean, and the way brands' ambitions is maybe going towards that. I mean, what are some of the things that you see? Well, probably what is the message you want to deliver to brands around cross-border e-commerce?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of conflicting information out there with cross-border. I think some brands will be on a path to, we need to have warehousing in Canada, Australia, US, UK, Europe. I think there is an argument to do that, but I think you need to be doing a huge amount of volume to make that whole process worthwhile in terms of obviously the supply chain complications, splitting your stock up between various warehouses, all the other paperwork that is needed to be an importer record into various countries. But I think for the typical SME type brand, there's no need to go down that route. I think we've successfully exported daily orders to across the world from our UK warehouse. And as long as the core detail is captured and it's set up in the correct way, and make sure obviously the commodity codes, the descriptions, make sure that the key details are provided within the product, the commercial invoices is created correctly, the correct carriers are used, and then you've set up, I'm sure most people listening to this are aware of the IOSS scheme in Europe, which came into play post Brexit, which again allows if you're selling products which are less than 150 euros, it's a very effective way to send goods into Europe with a quite a smooth transaction for the customer, which basically gets rid of the VAT bill landing at the customer's door. It's all dealt with by the customer and then the IOSS scheme. You've got the US, which we can export to any goods up to $850. Mm-hmm. So again, it's like, brands, we sometimes get brands in the UK, they're saying we feel that's a massive market in the US for us. We need to put our product in the US. And I'm saying, well, I'm not saying no, but maybe just before you do that, why don't you ship from the UK? The prices are still pretty cheap, and in the US you have your own challenges in terms of, do you need to be on the West Coast, the East Coast, splitting goods up, whereas actually you can ship across the US for the same price from the UK. So I think there's lots of people to think about before. The world is a small place. The carriers, if you choose the right carrier, you can get goods to most countries, most westernized countries, within 4 to 7 days. So a reasonable time frame. And as long as you tell the customer, which is a really important part, is as long as you educate the customer, tell them what the expectation is, then the whole process can work really well, and it's quite. And
again,
scalable.
It's not all the industries and all categories like same day or next day delivery. Customers are happy to wait longer time if they get some kind of things in return, like some improved functionality or some specific product that they're waiting for. So it already depends on different categories, I guess. And great, Dani. So how people can find you and Delta?
Well, yeah, LinkedIn, you can't miss me. Apologies in advance if there's too much content there, but we do try and do a couple of posts a week. But yeah, we obviously our website deltafulfillment.co.uk, or LinkedIn. DM me on LinkedIn. Always happy to chat. Always happy to give advice. If it's fulfillment and see.
Nice.
See,
final tips for brands out there considering 3PLs or working with a supply chain supplier.
Yeah, just to have an open relationship with your 3PL. It's not, they're not just a supplier. You have to remember that it's working. Yes, and things may go wrong, things may not be right, but work with them to try and find out the reason it went wrong. How can you help them? Is it anything that you've done wrong? Is it anything 3PL done wrong? And just work towards, because the worst thing is not having a good relationship with your.
That's like foundational, I guess. More these days for everything, right? For marketing, for supply chain fulfillment, for any aspect. So, Dani, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us your journey and the company and all these insights. It was really a pleasure, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. Your support means the world to us. If today's episode has been insightful for you, consider sharing it with someone who would also benefit. Even one share can make a big difference. Looking to elevate your e-commerce game? Discover Vimy, a multi-channel e-commerce platform that will transform your business with the power of shoppable video. Visit us at vimy.net to learn more. It's Vimy, VIMMI.net. Thank you for being part of our journey. Stay tuned for more invaluable insights in our next episode.